were going to advise a brand new agent just getting in the business, what would you tell them to do first?
Work buyers. Absolutely work buyers. I know at the real estate school they tell them work listings, but these are people telling them that who don't work listings themselves. So that's partially what's wrong with that advice. The other thing that's wrong with that advice is they're pitting an agent who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground up against seasoned veterans. If you go back to an earlier statement of mine, which is buyers are not looking for an agent, they're looking for a house. So a relatively new agent who has a lockbox key, access to MLS, and a car and doesn't smell bad is actually quite acceptable to a buyer. Buyers are not looking for somebody who's going to sell them something. They're looking for someone who's honest and nice. So, like the fact that I've been in business 34 years doesn't make me lots more desirable to most buyers than somebody 6 months in the business. So first of all, you don't have to compete with anyone. Just did you meet them and did they like you? You could sell them a house. That's number one. Go out and sell at least a dozen houses. Learn how the contract works. Learn how deals go together. Learn sort of the lay of the land and get your sea legs. Then learn to list. Then learn to list. It's a different thing entirely. If I had anything to do over, it would be learn to list sooner. Learn to list, learn to list, learn to list. There's no substitute for it. And regardless of what any instructor anywhere teaches, my answer would be go on listing appointments. I don't care if you do every single thing wrong. Go on more of them. Keep going on appointments. Think of it as a comedian getting stage time, brand new comic getting stage time. Just go on appointments. Keep going on appointments. The minimum number of appointments they need to go on to sort of learn how to do it is 50. Like say, I went on 10 appointments. You don't know. You don't know yet. At 20 appointments, you still don't know. At 50, now you've got you've been up to and this is at the table where you sat at the table in their kitchen table. All problems in getting listings are either at the table or getting to the table. And the biggest problem most agents have is actually not at the table, it's getting to the table. So if you have even a really stupid presentation, but you had enough up to bats, you'd learn to list and you'd wind up getting business to boot. So that'd be my answer.
I would tell them to write down their goals and to really figure out what it is that they want to do and figure out where their niche is. If it's going to be in short sales or if they want to try to get into the bank owns or if they want to try to do luxury or if they want to do property management, figure out what their niche is and then write down goals and figure out what they need to do to achieve them and then get somebody that they can really hold them accountable to making those steps happen. And the next one would be to latch on to a mentor. Getting somebody to coach you or mentor you is huge. Finding people, if you've got to either pay for it or if you can find somebody who can, you can do it without paying for it and they'll just meet with you on a regular basis to help you achieve your goals.
As a brand new agent getting in the business, I would go to the basics and they work really well. So I'm going to get not to go into too many stories, but before real estate, I did ADT security. What I did with ADT security, I was 19 years old, and the guy hired me, and he said, he gave me a few leads to go close sales, and so I went out and closed a few sales for him, and I said to him, all right, what should I do now? And he said, well, you could go, I guess, knock on some doors if you want. And I said, all right, what do I say? He said, I'll go tell him that you're the local ADT guy and you can get him a great deal on security system, something like that, something very basic. And I said, all right. So I just went out there and started knocking on doors. And by the end of that week, I had 11 sales. And at the time, I didn't know that was good or bad or indifferent. What I found out was it took me about 10 weeks, and I was the number one sales rep in the country for ADT out of like 50,000 sales reps. And I did nothing but the basics. I knocked on doors, and then I followed up. So when I knocked on the door, my goal was to get in there and sell them now. If I couldn't sell them now, get their phone number and follow up with them so I could close them. And it worked really, really well. And that's what I did early on in real estate, and I've had a number of agents over the years who've done that really effectively. If you just go out there, real estate's the easiest industry in the world because we have two large sources of business that put their sign in their yard with their phone number and raise their hand and say, hey, I want to sell my house and call me. You just go out there and work expires and FSBOs or even just general door knocking in a neighborhood. I'm not talking just putting flyers on the doors, going out there, knocking on people's doors, communicating with them, and then most importantly, following up. You'll have huge success, and you can make a lot of money. And then, of course, prospecting, cold calling. So RedX is a great program to pull all the expired phone numbers. I think it's like $50 a month. You can get all the phone numbers for the expireds in your market. Knock them when you can. If you can't knock them or you can't, they're not home, call them. And you do that, you have a lot of success early on. It'll get your cash flow going to be able to add in the marketing and do some of the fun stuff and grow your business. But to get money going early on, that's exactly what I would do.
I would tell them to find the rookie of the year in their office and take them out to lunch and find out exactly what that rookie of the year did last year to become the rookie of the year. And their goal is to be the rookie of the year this year.
Obviously, you want to always be learning as much as you can, taking advantage of all the webinars that are out there right now, taking advantage of the classes at your board of realtors that are relevant to what it is that you want to work with in your real estate market, but also getting out there and making the contacts and letting people know that you're in the business. I used to set aside every single day 2 hours in the day where I just made phone calls to people who I would make sure they weren't on the do not call list. I would call and say, hey, I saw that your house expired. Would you be interested in talking with me about listing your property? Hey, I was riding by and I saw that you have for sale by owner. Let's talk about the process and what's working and not working for you. I used to spend dedicated time in just building every single day the business until I could start to use past clients and repeat clients to continue to build my business even more. But at first, I had to start from somewhere, and that's where I started. It was not easy and not always fun, and people weren't always nice, but it worked.
Get some business cards, get a name tag. I always tell my agents, if you want 1 or 2 more deals a month, just wear your name tag everywhere and bring your business cards everywhere and smile. Going to Starbucks, especially with the economy the way it is, everybody wants to talk about real estate. There's been times that I have to take my name tag off just because if I'm running in somewhere, it's been a crazy, stressful day because I know somebody's going to stop me and talk to me about it. Get out there. There's so many cheap, inexpensive ways to prospect yourself. When you first start, there's a big difference between prospecting and marketing. And when you first start in the business, you have to prospect hard. That means wearing your name tag, just go everywhere you go, being out there with it, handing out business cards, open houses. Find agents in your office that allow you to do their open houses for them. You can borrow their signs until you can financially afford to get your own. Find one that are a great location. Open houses were a huge builder in the beginning of my business. So just getting started that way and talking to everybody you know. Let them know what you're doing. And the great thing about when you first start is that initial excitement. People see that and they'll love your excitement, want to do business with you. But you got to get out there and get known in the community.
Put together a good resume geared toward this business and this market. What have they brought in the past or what they've done that would help them do this?
Pray. And then after that, Kirsten?
Well, we always recommend that, they used to say that agents have 6 months of salary in the bank for your living expenses saved, and that's definitely at a minimum you should do that. But you have to start with the basics, and people don't want to hear that. Even with agents that are trying to reinvent themselves, you need to start with the basics. Coldwell Banker has a fast start training program that all new agents have to go through, and I think most of the larger companies do something like that. Once you get your real estate license, that has taught you nothing about the actual day-to-day business of real estate. So, going through some initial training classes and then getting a mentor. Even if your office doesn't provide a mentoring program, trying to find an agent in the office that does well, that does what you would like to do, and ask them to help you, to mentor you, I think would be very helpful. And then sitting open houses and picking up buyers. And again, that's where most new agents will start because that's your quickest buck. And it's easier than listings. Listings are harder for newer agents. But once you do that, and if you do open houses properly, you will pick up listings. So I think that's where you should start. Doug, you have any other thoughts?
No, I think you pretty much hit it. The idea is when you first get into the business, as Kirsten said, you're not going to know anything after you've gone through real estate school about how to actually help people buy and sell a house. So connecting with a mentor is a great idea, but probably step one is picking the right company. So I advise any new agent to look around. Check out what different companies have to offer, and not just the compensation plan, because there are a lot of companies out there that will give you a phenomenal compensation plan but provide you with very little support, very little marketing support. So pick a company that's going to help to train you properly and who's got the marketing tools to actually help you help your clients buy and sell properties. That's key.
First thing to do is I would call expired calls. I would go through the MLS and look up expired listings and call on them, regardless if they were short sales or whatever the situation happens to be. Start getting the experience of interacting with sellers. Believe it or not, I would actually say hold open houses every weekend to put you in contact with buyers and just establish yourself as a professional in the marketplace and in real estate. And I would start going to mixers. I would interact with other agents at any sort of mixer event that's put on in your area. And I would interact with the loan officers and other elements of the real estate industry that go to those. And just to, introduce yourself again, establish yourself as a professional in the marketplace and see what job opportunities perhaps could come from that. Like a termite guy, may not think anything special about it, but maybe on the side he's rehabbing houses and needs an agent to sell them for him, or needs an agent to help him identify fixers to fix. Maybe a loan officer you can pair with, or a loan officer can is not happy with whoever is looking for someone new. Who knows what the opportunities could be, but definitely got to get out there and interact with both the public and other industry professionals for a new agent.
I would tell them to go to the board and take all of the classes that are included in their membership, because there are so many tools that are available that you're already paying for in your board membership or through your NAR, National Association of Realtors dues, that you may not even be aware of. So I would really encourage them to do that first. And then I think the fact that I started working not on my own, but under a successful realtor and was mentored by him, I think that's a great way to start as a buyer's agent or as a rental agent, where you're going to get a lot of experience in a short period of time, and you're really going to get to learn to know the terminology, know the software, and know the business. And I've heard some people say, well, I wouldn't make as much because of my split, but, I always think 100% of nothing. I'd rather have 50% of something. And I learned so much during those years that I was working under Gary that's what helped propel me to go out on my own. And I don't think that I would have reached the place that I am today had I not had that kind of like intensive 4 or 5 years of working under his direction and leadership.
The first thing I would tell them to do is realize you are Agent Inc. You're the president, the CEO, the CFO, and the sales manager. Your success depends on you. At the end of the day, you are a salesperson. Your job is to sell. Treat this like a career and not a hobby. You'll be successful. That's what I would tell them. Now, how would I tell them to get business if that's what you're referring to? First thing I would do is tell them to market themselves to their sphere of influence. Make appointments with everybody they know, whether it's a lunch appointment, just a quick drop by to say hi at their office or their home. But everybody that knows them needs to know that they're a realtor. I would follow around the most successful person as much as I possibly could, where I'm not intruding on their time, and absorb as much information from them or their broker as possible to learn how to be successful. When we recruit a new agent who's not been in real estate before but may have been in sales, we've got a couple agents who who trained them. So they actually basically shadow these people for their first 5 transactions. And the person who they're normally shadowed with is a very successful agent. And in return, that agent is compensated when we get our share of the commission as the brokerage. That agent actually gets that share. So for the first 5 deals of a new agent, we really don't make any money. But that agent's getting hands-on training, and they're actually figuring out how to make prospects turn into leads and leads turn into sales. Too many times you find that realtors are just creatures of habit, and they're very lazy, and they don't know how to actually get business. So we actually teach them how to get business and how to get with the CPA to make sure that their taxes are done accordingly, how to take money out of their checks so they don't have IRS issues, and how to save money for a marketing budget, and when they should hire an assistant. They're groomed for that.
Be as knowledgeable as you can about your profession and just go and do it. Don't be afraid. Find your niche and grow it.